Hello, Narnach here. This is first video in about 3 months, so it's gonna be mostly an update video. In a bit I'll start playing a tier 7 map with my Dominating Blow Crusader. I started playing that one at the start of Delve League. Then after a couple of days I basically stopped playing Path of Exile, also stopped playing Grim Dawn for that matter. And it's not until 2 or 3 weeks ago that I just casually started playing it again. So I took this character, which was at level 40 or 50 at the time, through the campaign and into maps, and at tier 6, 7 maps is basically where I ended. League is now ended, in fact, in about 4.5 hours. The next league will roll around, Betrayal League. Yeah, so I've been out of the loop for a bit, not just passively following things, but I really took a massive step back from the game in order to just focus on life and recovery and things like that. So let's see. So basically Dominating Blow build, a bit like planned, a bit different, as is usual the case. I went more with an armor focus in terms of gear. Found myself a nice journal box pillar, and I was lucky enough to actually find a lightning coil. These things are pretty rare drops, so I was very happy with that. And I'm still using the Gnomic Storm because they just make you fast outside of combat, even though you take a little bit more damage from the first hit that comes in. So gonna run a lava chamber map. And basically I'll just be playing while talking. So let's rewind about 3 months. I posted the video, the burnout video, basically saying I'm gonna change the channel. Of course I was naively optimistic, figuring like, Nioh, I should be able to just do another video a week, maybe a video every 2 weeks if things get really dire. But no, just continue as if nothing happened. Well, funny thing is, of course, that when you make changes, they are always unforeseen changes. But just analyzing what I'm saying, it sounds maybe a little bit more dramatic than it is, but no, end result is that I basically went off the radar for a good 3 months. And now, just before the next league, I'm back. Because I figured, no, it's a good time to at least post an update. Hello there. And let's see. Yeah. So it's a good time to post an update. So, last time, burnout, well, trying to deal with it. Doing better. Most of the important bit there is just, funny enough, it's just getting to know yourself better. That large part of a burnout is that there are just patterns in your life that are out of balance, that basically result in you spending much more energy than you have. At some point, the reserve battery that you are draining is just empty. In my case, I think I've been draining that battery for years now. Probably getting close to burnout a couple times, then correcting a little bit and just prolonging it. And now I just emptied my battery and I really had to deal with it. So, then as I mentioned, no, I did some outdoor running and then managed to displace or dislocate my hip or whatever. No, actually managed to get the leg bone out of the socket of my hip. The precise word, not entirely sure what it is in English, but was not pleasant. And as the doctor told me, it is quite a severe thing. In that case, I was again naively optimistic about my recovery times. In fact, like a week and a half after the incident, I was already walking around again without crutches, because walking around with crutches, it's no fun. It slows you down, and at that point it was like, I can walk fine again. It's almost doesn't hurt anymore. So the sooner I can start walking again, the better it is, because then I'll just speed up my recovery. Nope, That's most of the time. Now, if you with like muscle, if you work out too hard and your muscles hurt, then you just gotta go back to using them. No, give them a little bit of time to recover and then just start using them again so you can strengthen them. That was my thinking. Well, doctor corrected me massively on that one. Really convinced me that it was a pretty darn severe injury. And that if not taken care of properly, it could lead to all kinds of nasty things. Now we mentioned necrosis, arthrosis, and eventually replacing your hip with an artificial hip. So he really emphasized that it was a severe thing, not to be taken lightly, and please listen to the doctor, because the doctor knows what he's talking about. So, okay, I went back to using the crutches for the 6 or 7 weeks or so that I had to do that. And the whole idea behind that is, of course, to just give your hip joint and also mostly the blood veins inside of it and and all the stuff in there, just to take the stress off, because you're putting a part of your weight on the crutches. Let's not get cursed. And to just give it a bit of time to recover, rest, and heal up. Which, well, I did. And then after 6 or 7 weeks, so that's going towards the end of September, middle of September, I went back in. They made some X-ray scans, and it looked pretty good. So I had the blessing of the doctor to basically continue without the crutches, but he did emphasize no running and no other crazy things that involve jumping or putting large amounts of stress on your hip, because it looks like things are healed, but well, it's very difficult to see inside of working inside of a living working person. So a lot of the advice is based on observations, but it's really difficult to see if you're fully healed or not, and it's all based on averages and things like that. So yeah, just for the next half year, just take it easy, don't do crazy things, and then you should be fine. So that's what I've been doing since then. I have not been able to pick up long distance running, for example, even though I really wanted. But I know this now. Normally when I walk upstairs, I take it like 2 steps at a time. And I noticed that when I try to do that now, there's a good chance that it will, I will feel a slight twinge in my hip when doing that. So I'm interpreting that as a signal of my body to like, no, really take it easy. Don't try to overdo things as you've been doing before. Just take a step back there. So downside is, of course, in terms of physical movements, it's not a lot of stuff. So not really doing any sports right now, which also makes it so that my mental recovery is more difficult, because, well, sports is great for getting stress out of your system. So I really have to just tackle the thing from the other angle, and that is just getting less stressed and eliminating stressors and things like that. Okay, let's go all out here. So we got jumpy totems, we have vile skeletons, we have curses, and we have a decent amount of minions. Boss fights, always something to at least pay a little bit of attention to. Problem is, oh wait, maybe I should pull the lever. I'm not thinking this. I've been able to brute force so many fights that I never really had to pay attention to mechanics of fights. And now that's starting to come back. Where are you? There we are. Cool. Here, jumpy totem, curse. So this build is really tanky. I say before getting ruffle stomped in the face, of course. Game likes to pull that kind of pranks on you. It's also it's a boss with increased health, increased damage and all that good stuff. So yeah, lovely, we got it. Cool. So doing tier 7 lava chamber while basically not really paying too much attention because I'm more focused on the narrative. That's basically what this build has become. It's very really sturdy. Radiant Crusade, Unwavering Crusade, and then the Harmony of Purpose gets me some charges. So it's a little bit of extra damage, but it's also the endurance charges make you a little bit tankier. It's kind of cool. And for the rest, minion nodes, life nodes, and then down here, the strength of the armor and life nodes, and now I'm going towards the warrior's blood for just more life, more armor, more of all the defensive good stuff. In terms of the build, I'm still running with a 4-link. Dominating Blow, Melee Splash, Melee Physical, and Summon Phantasm. Got some Leap Slam, but fortitude to Consecrated Path, so that Consecrated Path, it really gives you a bit of a shot in the arm for survivability. Board Chief with the Vile Board Chief, I like the Jumpy Totem. In Delph, it's actually been pretty nice to just have them deal with the events of the rooms. And then summon skeletons to just blanket out the place and deal more damage. So cool. Did that. So let's go back to the narrative, because I know I'm derailing myself here, and at some point I'm gonna lose track of what I was talking about. So yeah, no more sports basically, which is annoying. So just focusing on other aspects of my life. So during August and September, if I remember correctly, those were the 2 months I just took off from work, or just really reduced it to a minimum. It's one of the nice things of being self-employed. You have a lot more freedom in that regard, and also I've got a good savings account that allows me to actually not work for a couple months and just get me through. So in October, I started working again, 2 days a week for an old client. So I knew the company, knew the things involved there, and well, rather than focusing more on programming, I focused more on some consulting, just advising them in their team. So I was not in the critical path, just more helping them be more productive, which is part of a larger strategy of trying to level up my career. Because well, if you're out with a burnout and you're going to just change things anyway, might as well try to level up your career while you're at it. So that's basically, client pays the bills, and then the rest of the week I still take Fridays off, which is why I'm recording this during a working day. And then the other 2 days in the week I'm just focusing on trying to grow my business and level it up. So shift a bit more towards a consulting side. Rather than just programming, and just trying to just change things around, see if I can get to a more mentally sustainable long-term pattern. And it's also I've been professionally programming for 12, nearly 13 years now. It's at some point I've always wondered why are there not that many old programmers, and now I know it's because a lot of them transition to related fields where they are more valued. Because at some point you hit the ceiling of what you can earn as a programmer, and then if you want to earn more money, you basically gotta do something else. So that's gonna be consulting, it's gonna be management, it's gonna be any of the related fields, start your own business, have your own product, things like that. So just experimenting with things like that. And trying to pay a lot more attention to the kinds of things that I really, that give me energy, and the things that cost me energy. So when working with clients and there's a lot of chaos, a lot of things going wrong, I still get personally really attached to it, which costs me a lot of energy. Then at the end of the day, I'm just wiped. While, for example, if earlier this week I spent almost 12 hours, I think, just working on a business plan for a new product or a new service offering that I'm gonna do. And at the end of the day, yes, it was a long day, but I really was energized. And then the next day, I just went on writing marketing page copy for that. And that was also just really fun to do. So I noticed there are things that really energized me and I should focus more on that. Whereas other things, they drain me, and if I have to do them to pay the bills, then in the short term, that's what's going to be good to do. But in the long term, I really should transition to other things. So I think that mostly is my offline life. Now let's take it back to the YouTube channel. So basically life has kept me occupied much more than I had expected. And besides that, besides work, spent a lot more time with friends, just hanging out, doing board games, playing Magic the Gathering, which is, I'm playing that game for 20 years now, and it's still really enjoying it. And it's just a nice way to meet new people and grow your social circle a little bit. But my focus has been on a lot of offline stuff, and online, not a lot. I have started gaming more, but not as much as before. And it's also Path of Exile. Yeah, I played it a little bit, but no, it's maybe an hour here, an hour there, maybe 2 hours here, and then not for a couple days. I wanted to get this character to maps, so I managed to do that. And I recorded a video here to just show you what the build ended up being. Just as a way to wrap up the Delve League, even though I really did not actively participate in Delve. So Betrayal is coming up, and I haven't even read all of the patch notes, for example. I know there's a bunch of new skills coming, and there's a bunch of cool things in there. There's the metal-based skills, they look pretty cool. Cold-based skills, there's some nice stuff in there. The brand skills, they look pretty cool as well. So there's a lot of things to look into and doing, but I figured before I dive into theory crafting and coming up with all kinds of builds, let's just do a bit of an update video for myself. So if I haven't been playing a lot of Path of Exile or Grim Dawn for that matter, I've played even less Grim Dawn than I did Path of Exile. So what have I been doing? Well, earlier on, so let's say 2-3 months ago, I actually played a lot of just almost like casual games. Things like RimWorld, things like Factorio. Games that are just simulations where you set things in motion, but you're not always on edge and pushing yourself, because action RPGs, they tend to be intense if you're doing it on hardcore. It's mostly frustrating if you're doing delves. I really hate that darkness mechanic. It's caused so many bullshit deaths, I don't even like it. It's also the reason why this is SSF standard rather than hardcore, because delve darkness, it's just too many bullshit deaths. That's the biggest downside, and especially early on in the league, that things were, they got better, but yeah. Okay, getting the real. So just some casual games, just basically in order to just give my mind some time to just shut down and just recharge a bit. So about a month ago, I think, I started playing some Nioh, Nioh. It's a Dark Souls-like game, but with itemization closer to an action RPG. And I think I spent a good 30 to 40 hours on that game now. I really, really like it. I might someday actually do a video on that game. While I was playing that game every day, I thought about it, but the thing is, that game, it is really pretty. It is really graphically intense, and if you run it on maximum settings, then on my old machine, I was getting 30 to 40 FPS. So the old machine is the machine I built in late 2014. It had a GTX 980, or two of them even, with a top-tier quad-core i7 CPU. And that's what I've been using ever since. It's what I've been recording all my videos on. Basically, with the exception of this video, because this is the first video I'm recording on my new machine, which is a Corsair 1 Elite. It's a pre-built system rather than a system that I've custom built. Main reason for that is it basically does out of the box what I wanted out of a new system, which is be silent and be incredibly performant. So this one has a 6-core high-end Intel CPU, the 8700K if I remember correctly. It has a GTX 1080 Ti. So for about a year and a half now, I have been looking at upgrades, and I've done research on so many components and spec'd out so many builds, it's not funny anymore. But a year ago, it was the Ryzen that was all new, and I was really looking to see if that was something. But there were some launch issues and some weird glitches with certain games. I figured, oh, let's hold off on that for a little bit. And new GPUs, of course, coming around, and they kept getting postponed and postponed. So now we finally have the 2080 line with the RTX rather than the GTX. So that's with the ray tracing enabled. Launch of that was a little bit of a disaster. The cards themselves, I think 1500 or so for a 2080 Ti, which is 20% faster than the 1080. But the killer feature, the ray tracing, really slows down games. In the last couple of days, I've actually seen that there have been some patches that drastically improve the performance, especially in the situations where the ray tracing really comes in. So I think I'll just wait until the next generation of that, because ray tracing, if it's being used in games, for the graphics, it becomes better, especially in reflections that are partially obfuscated by objects. They actually act as mirrors, and that's pretty cool. For a game like Path of Exile, it's hardly relevant. So I figured, oh, let's just go with a top-end machine of the previous generation, because that's going to be a little bit more affordable. No, the system is entirely water-cooled, which is really nice, so it is nice and silent. So it's also why I managed to set up everything, got my mic set up, recording. I set up all the recording things from scratch, but no webcam. Actually, I tried getting a new webcam to work for about a year and a half now. I've had a Razer Stargazer lying around. I tried hooking it up to my old system because it has the killer feature for the Stargazer is that it will allow you to do effectively a green screen without having a green screen, because it has dual cameras and it tries to use stereoscopic vision in order to estimate depth. And then it has a depth level cutoff. Thing is, on my old machine, it's basically recorded at 5 FPS, and then it randomly just stopped recording, which was less than helpful. I figured, no, my machine was an old machine. Chipset features that the Stargazer relied on simply were not there. So once I got a new machine, I would try again. So I hooked up the Stargazer, and it's basically just as poorly performant as the previous one, at least in combination with OBS. So I just gotta have to look into hooking up the old one. But for now, I figured, no, let's just record something and deal with a video later. So basically got myself a new machine in order to get better performance for Nioh. That's working. So I should actually be able to play and record that game and make a proper video about it. And about a week, 2 weeks ago, I discovered Dominions 5, which is a strategy game. Some describe it as the most complex strategy game they've ever seen. I think on the one hand, yes, it is complex. On the other hand, it might also be a little bit obtuse. It's just that the interface, it could do with some love. Let's call it that. So some information you just need to go to the manual, and well, kudos to the developers. They got a 300 plus page PDF manual on their website that you can use to basically find everything about the game. That's pretty cool. Downside is you actually have to scroll through the PDF in order to find information, which is less than ideal. But I just finished one campaign on my new machine for that game and enjoying that one. So maybe I might do a video on that at some point as well. Even though it feels like I've only barely scratched the surface. And it's also just a nice game to just relax with a little bit. It's not turn-based on the overworld, and then battles, they play out in, well, real-time turn-based. It automatically advances, but the thing is you don't have any control over the battles. They are auto-resolved. Though you can influence them very strongly by giving every regiment their own orders, positioning them, and especially for your mages, you can script them with 5 spells that they will start at the start of battle before they default to doing whatever the heck they want. So with that, add on top that there's a lot of schools of magic that you have to research different elements. There's items you can craft, conquering provinces, and if you conquer provinces you get access to units that you can recruit there. So there's a lot of different options, and there's like 30 different factions that are all very different. So I've played a campaign with Rilia, which is the Cthulhu Lovecraftian horror-inspired faction, which really is my jam. And I'm just gonna look at playing some other ones. So yeah, I think now you're basically caught up until now. So let's look towards the future. Betrayal is gonna start in about 4 hours. I'm gonna play it. But I think it's going to be safe to say that I'm not going to be back the way I was before. This is more like an update on my hiatus. I'm doing better, but I'm definitely not feeling up to my old self again. So I'm just going to keep my focus on my offline life, especially my business life, trying to get that to a place where it is more consistently giving me energy than that it is draining energy, and just try to build up something again. That said, for the new machine, I finally do have my recording setup working. So maybe I might be able to squeeze in a video now and then, but yeah, if I'm gonna do that, it's probably not gonna be more than 1 per month. So yeah, there's that. So now I'm gonna end the recording and then just start reading up a little bit and maybe firing up Path of Building in order to theory craft a little bit with the new skills, the new skill tree, just all the new stuff that we have, and maybe have a little bit of a look at my loot filter in order to get that one upgraded for the new patch as well. Because actually, for the first time in a long time, I do have the launch night of a new league available. Now in this case, because I'm a little under the weather, so I figured I'm not going to go out and play Magic the Gathering tonight. I'm just going to stay at home. So there's an upside that I can play a little bit of Path of Exile before going to bed then. Yeah, that's it. So with that said, I'm going to thank you very much for watching. Apologize for the long delay, but yeah, but that's always, we don't want to, I don't want to make an update without having to say something or without positive news. But in this case, and then at some point it's been long enough since an update that you feel like you should have more to say, and now at some point it's just like, it's the end of the league. Let's just make an update and just at least let you know, because there's a lot of you have been asking me via various channels of how I've been doing and things like that. So I really do appreciate that. Yeah, anything else? Oh, I did set up a Discord channel, just silently snuck in the link in the into the channel. Links at the top of YouTube. I haven't heavily promoted it. Main reason for that is because I'm also not heavily using it. You are free to join. There's like a handful of people in there, very, very infrequently. And it's mostly every month or so I just do an update in there on what games I'm playing, just to have a bit of a very easy, low-key way to just share some games I do. So if you use Discord, feel free to join. But that said, no, don't count on me being there a lot. But it might be just a bit of a lower barrier for just some passive interaction there than on the YouTube channel. Because, well, taking videos, it still feels like something I do have to do some work for. And that's also just something I need to... it probably shows that I'm not quite done yet to get back into swing here. Okay, now I'm really starting to ramble, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy Betrayal League, and see you again next time. Bye bye.